In the video that I made for you all yesterday, I told you that something absolutely massive was happening in the crypto market and you needed to be watching it extremely closely. Well, what we were talking about was the fact that Bitcoin was trying to break above the golden zone, the Fibonacci golden zone. And if it was successful in this breakout, I thought Bitcoin's price could start looking for a move up towards $115,000 or maybe even higher towards $119,000. But if it failed, I thought things could get pretty ugly with Bitcoin's price coming back down to what could be $97,000. And knowing what was on the line, which could be a huge move up or a huge move down, I gave you all the homework of watching this golden zone very, very closely because it was going to make or break this market, at least in the short term. Well, what you can see here is that since that video, Bitcoin's price has started to pull back, failing to hold on top of the golden zone and seemingly, for now, invalidating this breakout. And so I want to give you a quick update on exactly what this means and what I'm doing now. But before then, I do want to say congratulations to those of you who didn't let your emotions get to you yesterday. You know, when Bitcoin made this move up towards 110K yesterday, I saw so many people opening up huge leverage trades, 50x, 100x, and even higher, expecting that Bitcoin was now going to just absolutely send it since it was technically above the golden zone. But in that video, I told you all, give this thing 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 4-hour candle closes before you start making a move. Because in the next coming, 3, 4, 5 candles, it was going to tell us everything we needed to know on if this was a legitimate breakout or not. Because what we've noticed over the last couple weeks is that sometimes we get above these golden zones and we just fail to stay above them. And if we really fail to stay above them, that can open up the door for a huge move downwards. And so those of you who didn't get caught in these emotions, didn't get caught in the FOMO, didn't get caught in the greed, you stayed the course, you gave it a little bit of time, now you've avoided getting caught right here with some sort of leverage trade that you're probably super deep in the water on. So congratulations to you. But moving forward, of course, the question that most people are going to have is, well, now that Bitcoin's price has pulled back, is this a terrible thing? I mean, is this the worst case scenario right now, or is it not that bad? Well, I would actually go and say that this is definitely not the best case scenario, but it's also not the worst case scenario. It's somewhere right in the middle. And the reason that I say that is that the best case scenario is that Bitcoin's price would have broke above the golden zone, stayed above it, and then used it as support to continue upwards. That was obviously the best case scenario. That's obviously not what's happening right now. But the worst case scenario would have been that Bitcoin immediately capitulated back below this golden zone. It completely lost support, didn't hold up whatsoever within this golden zone, and would be back now around 105K. That would be the worst case scenario. And the reason being is because that would mean that this was just a liquidity hunt. This was a fake out. It was not a real breakout. And those are usually followed by really ugly dumps afterwards. So that would have been the worst case scenario. But what we're seeing right now is that Bitcoin's price is just pulling back after seeing this breakout, which is somewhere in the middle. Let's just call it the mid case scenario, right? Because what Bitcoin's doing is it's battling right now to hold support within this golden zone. And listen, this isn't unusual. Like, this does happen sometimes, and it does make a lot of sense as to why this is happening. Bitcoin's price used a lot of energy to get back above the golden zone, and now that it's used all of that energy to try to get back above the golden zone, it needs to cool down a little bit. It opened up this door, but in order to open up this door and get up to 110, the RSI had to get overbought. The Bollinger Bands had to get overextended. And after getting overextended like this, after getting overbought like this, it's normal to see the crypto market, especially Bitcoin, pull back just a little bit. But what we need to see, knowing that this cool down or pullback is happening, is that it stays just that. What we want to see right now is that Bitcoin's price does remain within this golden zone. What we don't want to see is Bitcoin's price losing support here, coming back down and falling below 107, because history shows that when you do lose the golden zone, and this isn't just a cool down anymore, it's an actual capitulation, that's when bad things can start to happen. For example, if we go look what happened last year in 2025 during this time, you can kind of see an image of that. So look at how we had, of course, the golden zone drawn in right here. We saw Bitcoin's price come down and go back up. It cleared the golden zone and it tried to stay above the golden zone, but it just failed, right? It stayed above here for a while, but it failed. And the second that we got these closes below this golden zone, it opened up the door for this huge capitulation. And look what happened. I mean, Bitcoin is absolutely nuked afterwards. And that's what we don't want to see here. It's totally fine that Bitcoin's trying to hold some support and trying to rebuild some support in this golden zone, but we don't want to see it again fall below here because that's when things can get ugly. There's too many liquidations built built up around, $100,000, $97,000, $99,000 for Bitcoin to lose this golden zone. And if it does, that's where I think we're going. I think we're heading back down to the low 100s, and we just don't want to see that. Okay. So, no, this isn't the worst case scenario. No, this isn't something absolutely terrible, but it's definitely a cause for concern because if Bitcoin does not find that support, if it doesn't find that reset that it's looking for, things could start to get a little bit ugly from here. Okay. And so, my general update before we do shift gears a little bit, talking about the more macro sentiment, is that you need to be watching this very closely and you need to make sure that Bitcoin stays within this golden zone. Your homework before we move into the next part of this video is to draw in again your 109 to 107.4 thousand dollar golden zone and just watch this thing closely. Look to see if Bitcoin can maintain within this or not. If it does, we're great. This was just a cool down. It's just a pullback. We're going to try to use it. We're going to try to push up to 115. Things are all good. But again, if Bitcoin starts capitulating, we lose that 107.4 mark, I think things very well might start to get a little bit ugly, and there's going to be a lot of risk involved with Bitcoin's price for the next coming days or possibly even next couple weeks. Now, with this in mind, though, kind of just zooming out a little bit while Bitcoin is making that decision, I want to talk about what's happening from more of a macro perspective, okay? And how I think what we're seeing from the liquidation levels and the fear and greed index and trends and all these things, how these things may be impacting Bitcoin's price right now, because I think they're actually painting a picture that says that even if Bitcoin does start to get a little bit ugly, I still think that there is opportunity. And I still think there is a reason to believe that Bitcoin can still hit all-time highs, even if Bitcoin does go through a little period where things are ugly for a while. Because so many people have said recently that if Bitcoin loses 100K, that the bull market's over, that the top is in. And nothing from what I am seeing at this point agrees with that. And so I want to talk about that. Now, before we do shift gears and talk about what's happening from a more macro perspective, I did want to tell you guys a little bit about Simple AI. Now, this is a company that I partnered with, especially over the last few weeks. I was able to meet some of the founding team over whenever I was at Bitcoin Vegas and really get an idea of what they had going on. And I do feel like this is a company that's flying under the radar right now, which is a smart play by them while the market's not doing so good. But I do think that if the market allows and if we see the AI narrative really pick back up, I think they're going to have a lot of great opportunities for them. Now, I'm going to make a bunch of content about them over the coming like 4 to 6 weeks or so roughly. So I'm not going to over talk about it right now. I don't want to flood your brain. But what they do for the most part is they take all of these different AI solutions that we've seen here in the world of crypto and they make them as simple as humanly possible and put them in one place with access through one entry point. So instead of having to use one AI protocol to do this and one AI protocol to do that and one AI protocol to do that, what they've done is they've simplified it, aka Simple AI, and they've put all of these things in-house in one area. Now, some of the things that they have, some of the features include Simple GPT, which is of course just like a chat GPT, but more crypto driven and more related to, of course, their contract and their ecosystem. There's Simple Trade, which is a comprehensive trading platform with portfolio tracking and management. AI portfolio tracking has been huge recently, so they're trying to kind of like integrate that within their own little ecosystem and pull that part of AI as well. There's Simple Data, in which you can connect and analyze data from smart devices, health trackers, and IoT systems. So this also can play into the more RWA narrative as well, in which people who do have these real world assets, whether it be health trackers, whether it be IoT, whatever it may be, they can actually track all of that data in a very simplified manner with Simple Data. Again, this is a huge portion of the kind of RWA narrative, the data monitoring narrative, and they're pulling that in. Robotics, advanced robotics integration platforms, they're pulling that in. Simple Protect, a comprehensive security suite for blockchain applications and smart contracts, and Simple Create, which is an AI-assisted development tools kit for blockchain and Web3 applications. So all of these different AI solutions that you see within the world of Web3, whether it's AI-assisted development tools, security, whether it's data, robotics, whether it's trading, whether it's GPT, they're bringing it all in one and making it as simple as humanly possible. And I think the fact that they're taking this approach, it makes them almost like a best of all worlds type of thing. And I've always noticed those type of cryptos do extremely well, especially in newer narratives like the RWA narrative. Now, one of the ones that I thought was actually extremely interesting was if we actually go over here to trade, what you're going to see is, of course, Simple Chart. Now, I think Simple Chart's really interesting, and it's not listed on that list that I provided you earlier, but what Simple Chart allows you to do is you can actually pull some of the different information that you need from more of a charting or technical analysis perspective from a crypto. So what I can do is I can click like Analyze ETH, for example, and what it'll do is it'll give me some of the basic info I need. Where's the RSI at? Where are the moving averages at? Where are your Fibonacci levels at? It is consistently updating. happening. And these sorts of things, in my opinion, having a suite that has every form of AI that there is within the world of crypto all simplified and put into one place with one access point being their token, I think it's a really good idea. And they are very new. They are very small, which comes with a ton of risk. Don't get me wrong, but I am going to keep an eye on them, and I am going to kind of like see how this thing develops over time, especially with the AI narrative, because I think there could be a lot of potential here. So if you guys like or would like, what I'll do is I'll make more content about them, going over them. Maybe I even do a full video at some point and just kind of going over the entire ecosystem. Let me know if that interests you down in the comments below. But I did just want to let you guys know I did recently partner up with them. I like to keep things super transparent here on the channel. So I did recently partner up with them. I think they have a lot of potential. I did add my own bag of simple AI to my own portfolio. So I think there's a lot of potential here, and I just wanted to tell you about them. So with that in mind, let's kind of shift gears a little bit though. And let's get back to the broad market. So as I mentioned before, we need to be watching very closely what's happening with this Fibonacci golden zone for Bitcoin. But what's happening from more of a macro standpoint that could be impacting the market as well? Well, what we can see is that there are a couple key metrics that I like to look at that are all painting a pretty clear picture to me. There's liquidation levels, there's fear and greed, and there's just Google Trends. And all of these say the same thing to me. And what I'm gathering from these things is that even if Bitcoin's price does lose support and it does come back down to 100 or it does come back down to 95 or 90, I don't particularly think that that entails that this is the end of the entire bull market, that the run is over, that the top is in. Of course, it could, but I don't think that's a guarantee. Now, the reason that I say that is because, for example, if we look at 30-day liquidations, I want you to see what's happening right now. As Bitcoin's price is pulling back, as Bitcoin's price is dropping just a little bit over the last 24 hours or so roughly, we're starting to see the amount of people betting against the market, betting that the market's going to fall, going up like crazy. There's already $10 billion worth of liquidations towards the top side. And what this means historically is that the lower that Bitcoin's price goes, the more confident that people are going to be that the top is in and that the run is over and that crypto is going to go down. And historically, that is not what the top of a bull market looks like. The top of a bull market does not look like people thinking that the top is in. It's the opposite. It's when people don't think the top is in. And so the fact that everybody, now that Bitcoin's price is pulling back a little bit, is betting that the crypto market is going to go down tells me or feels to me like it's probably not. In addition to that, the crypto fear and greed index historically has a lot more gas in it than a 76. You can't really convince me that the all-time high for Bitcoin is going to be a 76 on the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. Bitcoin is currently at $108,000 and the Crypto Fear and Greed Index is at 64. We're near neutral still. That's not what the top of a bull market looks like. The top of a bull market generally looks like extreme greed. And listen, yes, I know. You may say, well, Tyler, there will be a moment in history where the top of a bull market is not an extreme greed. And it does get, it is characterized by everyone knowing the top was in. Sure. I just have no reason to believe that that is going to happen right now. I think it's more likely that in moments where everyone thinks the top is in, the top is not in. And when everyone thinks the top is not in, that's when the top is in. And so a period where everyone's betting the market's going to go down and the crypto fear and greed index is just barely in the red, it doesn't feel like a top to me. And the last thing that I will say to kind of drive this point home is just look at what we're seeing from Google Trends. People don't care. When you look at crypto, just crypto as a whole, over the last 90 days, we're up towards all-time highs. People don't care. You look at the last 12 months, people do not care. We are seeing some of the lowest volume from retail investors that we have ever seen, or that we have seen within the last 4 or 5 years. And so my question to you is, who's going to sell it? Who's going to cause this market to crash? Who's going to cause the bull market to end? Because usually the bull market ends when institutions start mass dumping on retail. But if retail's not here and retail doesn't care and retail isn't buying, it's being pumped up by institutions, what makes you think that institutions are going to be the very thing that then causes the bear market to start? They got nobody to dump on. There's no hype, there's no excitement, there's no euphoria, there's no extreme greed, and there's no people, for the most part, who are like screaming that the bull market can never end. This is just not the scenario. This is not a situation that would characterize the top of a bull market. And so look, yeah, Bitcoin's price, honestly, guys, it might come back down below the golden zone. It might come back down to 100K. It might come back down to 95K. Maybe there's a world in which we're seeing Bitcoin starting to create some sort of range that looks like this, right, to the top side, and then it looks like this to the bottom side. And Bitcoin's price is just going to stay within this thing for a couple months while we're waiting on the money supply, while we're waiting on quantitative easing, while we're waiting on all these things to then open up the door to the upside. This is possible. And if that is the case, yeah, Bitcoin might just go back to 100K. That could happen. But at the end of the day, I'm still just not convinced that this is what the top of a bull market's going to look like. And this is how it's all going to play out. And so I may be wrong. And listen, if I am wrong, I'm willing to take it on the chin. I'm willing to man up and admit when the time comes, look, I was wrong. What can you do? I gave it my best. That's all that I can do. But at the end of the day, I just don't think I'm wrong. And that's why I'm continuously still willing to be doing some dollar cost averaging if the market does allow, and why I am still taking some profits along the way. Okay. And so those are my general thoughts. Those are my general updates. The best thing to do from this point forward, in my opinion, is just to pause. Let this play out and let's watch very closely to see what happens in this golden zone. Will Bitcoin be able to find some support within it and then use the support to try to trickle back upwards? Or is it just going to capitulate out of it? Whatever happens at this golden zone is going to make or break Bitcoin and crypto in the short term, and we need to watch extremely closely, okay? So be watching that. I'll be here every step of the way updating you on how it all plays out. Do not forget that if you are interested in getting some trading going yourself, you can use that link down below to BTCC and get up to $10,000 per user and up to 40% lower trading fees. Listen, if you know trading, you know how good that is. So check out that link down below, but keep a close eye on it all. And lastly, follow me on Instagram if you do want some more behind the scenes content and some extra educational content as well. So overall, I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. I know it's not the best week in crypto, but I hope your week's still going good, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.